Oh, sorry. The notes are in here.
Don't worry, I'll just edit it. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You know, working on getting this tier A client deal done. I just finished their teaser. I want to send that to you so you can actually review it. Kind of just take a look at it, see if it's good, bad. Kind of want to hear your thoughts on it. But yeah, man. So I know you want to probably talk about Dealmaker.
Yeah. Basically, so remind me again what we had discussed the other day, because I think there were some incredibly salient points that we had touched on that I'd like to get into a recording.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. Obviously, there's the numbers that are, I think, based on how long I've been in the program. What has it been? Like a month and a half, 2 months?
Like for real? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so something we did talk about was my time actually focusing on this, right? So I was running previously.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right?
Yeah. So I was running an agency previously where, that was doing well, 30, 40, 50K, obviously agency. The numbers vary month to month. But I was helping investment banks or marketing agencies, all sorts of different companies do B2B marketing. So lead generation through email and LinkedIn. But I was having issues really scaling that business.
Yeah. Let's do all of this. So that's the first one. I think multiples, you focusing, right? Where you are financially now, how quickly you're able to get there, and like what you see on the horizon in the next 6 months, and then what the enterprise value is now. I think that's big, right? And then just like going into like the key thing that I'm trying to get out of this is like you did have some hesitancy, right? What was your thought process that ended up pushing you over the edge? That's the big thing that I'm trying to get to. And then just advice you'd have for people that are on the fence or like people considering it, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what the conversation I'd like to have.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just jump into it. Cool. So Jake, good to have you on today. I think it's been a few months since you jumped in, and I distinctly remember having our initial call and saying you will be a millionaire in the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to crunch the numbers on the enterprise value of your firm, I think you'd be well beyond that. So I think it's just an interesting anecdote to start off with. You are doing incredibly well for the amount of time that you've been in the program. I think that you do fit the exact mold of the kind of person who does really well, which is coming from a direct response background. So with all that said, why don't you start off by giving us just a brief background of your history, track record, and sort of, what your background is in the context of before you jumped into the program.
Yes. So before I joined Dealmaker, I was running a B2B marketing agency where we used email and LinkedIn as a channel to help investment banks, marketing agencies that target enterprise, and help them find new clients through those channels. And, I ran into some issues like any agency owner. Scalability was a big problem there. But then also really finding interest in that market was where I struggled, because I was helping all these investment banks make a lot of money, and I saw an opportunity to do it myself. And that's where this idea initially got seeded. And then I came across Lewis, which his content really resonated with what I was doing. I was definitely skeptical though. I remember initially I did not think at all, like I just more so saw it as like a course, and how they're all over the place, which info is not bad. And that's something that, I've learned over the years, but not all info is bad. And so far I've gotten a clear return on what I've paid Lewis, especially if you look over the next 1 to 2 years. It's probably going to be more of like 100-fold return on what I've paid Lewis. So it has worked out very well, but I do think it takes a certain type of individual to make this happen.
Right.
And that's extremely important. It's not for everybody. This program is not for everybody, and that's just me being honest. And most people, you need to have that experience, but also the resilience, or not that, but like more so the determination to like really make it work, because you got to figure it out on your own. Like Lewis is going to guide you in the right direction, but you got to be able to get to that point. So I'll just get to the stuff that really matters, right? So like the numbers wise, in the past week and a half, we've done over 40 grand in revenue from new deals that we've brought in. Now it's still relatively new, and I'll give you context on that. So, I mean, in the fucking past, since November 10th is the day I looked at my calendar before this call. I was like, when did I really start this? Like November 10th, I really started focusing. It's December 1st right now. I really started focusing on this firm and actually growing it, because I had my other agency that I was still working on. I do not work on that anymore. I'm completely out of that business. And honestly, I'm thinking about just shutting it down completely, because this is already starting to bring in more revenue than that business. So at first it was very hard for me to make that transition, because you're attached to this other business, but at the same time, do you think that this is going to scale? You have to commit fully to it, because this market's massive and it works, which is kind of my thought process for, what investment banks do. So kind of walk you through a little bit there, but anything else, Lewis, that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to get an idea of where the agency was, both from, so there's two distinct things that I want to understand. How is the firm doing from a revenue profitability standpoint? And then over and above that, how were things like for you as the entrepreneur? Right? What were the difficulties or things going well, right, for you? And then like from a monetary standpoint, if you could break down the numbers.
Yeah. So I'll start with the numbers. So I mean, we were doing anywhere from 30 to like 50K a month pretty consistently. I plateaued for a while, and margin on that was very low, which is the big difference between this and that business. It was around 30%. I was spending so much money on different softwares. I had to hire people to manage those accounts, which those accounts just aren't as valuable, right? Because you get paid a monthly retainer for a set period of time. They're going to churn. Like there's no set goal in the thing. Like it's just the agency model, right? And I think we provided a really good service. Some investment banks made a lot of money from our services, and I still work with some of them today, but not in that way. They're now advisors at the firm, so it's a different type of model, which Lewis helps with that for sure. But the difficulties of that was, I think the profitability was not enough for it to make sense based on the amount of work that was being put into it. Scalability was hard. We reached so many of the investment banks. I feel like with our marketing strategy, the TAM was low, right? Like you're just going after investment banks, like it's just investment banks. And I think going into this really shifted it, because there's so many more companies that actually need this. And that was a big issue as well, which I'll touch on briefly, which investment banks, helping an investment banker with cold outreach, and, we're just another system for them to just get clients. It helps them, but it's not as much as a need for these companies to, raise capital, sell their company for a specific amount. Like that is a much more, it's much more valuable, in my opinion, the service that you're providing, which I think is why it works so well. So yeah, to answer your question.
Got it. And what was like day to day like for you? Like, have you seen a distinct difference between like number of, issues that you're facing, what your stress levels were like before, if you could compare and contrast what things were like internally?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely much less work. Because look, you have a clear goal in mind. These people, like the types of clients that you have, it's a goal in mind that you have with this client, and they trust that you're going to do everything to get that done to them. The other model was very you were very in tune with the client. You had to have weekly calls with the client. They're, checking in on you consistently. And they're getting really upset if things are not being met, like just all these conversations. I would get calls out of the blue all the time from my clients, from these investment bankers. That does not happen anymore. These guys are extremely respectful of my time, and they're going to send me an email. Like it's a different type of relationship. And maybe that's just because I got better at it, but I think it's just a better offer. So these guys, intuitively, they're easier to handle.
Got it. Okay. So you found me on Twitter, I guess, right? All right. You saw some of the stuff. You had some hesitancy, some concerns. You didn't know what the efficacy of like the program, the model, me, etc. Like if you could walk us through what was going through your head, like both positive and negative, and then what led you to end up moving forward.
Yeah. And the seed was already planted in my head before I even came across your Twitter. I remember thinking about starting an investment bank when I was working with these investment banks themselves. Yeah. And, very rare. I wasn't necessarily looking for a program or anything, or, a mentor in the space, which looking back, I should have been. But I came across your content, and that's where it really clicked in terms of the opportunity available. Now, I didn't know if I needed to do Dealmaker to do it, but I took the initial call with you. You really know what you're talking about when it comes to growing these businesses. You understand it. And I know that because I have advisors who have been investment bankers for a very long time, and they're saying the same things you are, which has really resonated. But you have a skill set that they do not have. So I think that alone is that's what clicked for me and made me want to do it. And I've never got a negative return on information that I've bought in some way or another. It always comes out positive. So that was my mindset, was let's do it. And of course there's a risk, but once I actually got into the program, it was pretty quickly. At first it was very hard to balance because it's such a new thing, and you have these other clients that you have to handle on top of the work that you have to do to start this investment bank. It took me about a month to transition my focus into my firm, which from there on, it's the pipeline looks really good. And I think we're going to make a lot more money than I would in a month than my other firm.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about that. So it's been 20 days, 3 weeks since you really went all in. You've done 40K in revenue since then, which is it's decent. What's on the table right now? How much are you charging? Let's discuss all that.
Yeah. So I was charging, for the previous deals I've done, I was charging $10,000 to $15,000 up front, which honestly was not enough. And I realized that very quickly. I have 30 closing calls this week, 12 of them on Monday, where they're all offers for over 20,000 up front. Some of them 30. I have a 41 that's on the table. And a lot of those have contracts out that I've been building in the pipeline over the past 2 months. I have a setter. The way our process works is I have a setter take our initial call, and that gets passed on to me for closing and really understanding what they're looking to do. But I think being genuine throughout the entire process is the best way to close these guys. And it's not necessarily like you're taking their money. Just try to be genuine, try to make them understand that you're really trying to help them. And maybe that's just a sales thing, but that's an important differentiator to have in this space, because so many people are just worried about the numbers all the time, but numbers do matter. So yeah, I mean, with that being said, I think these next 2 weeks, we'll do over $75,000 in revenue in the next 2 weeks from getting money in. And then I think January, we're going to hit 200K. I think we're going to start going over that in monthly revenue, 200K pretty quickly, which obviously sets enterprise value. If you look at that from a 12-month stretch, much more valuable than my other business, what it could have been. But yeah, you've gave me context on that, Lewis, what investment banks are worth.
Yeah. Okay. So what deals do you have that are live deals that you think you're going to be able to get done, and what do the economics break out to or break down to within those deals?
Yeah. So my favorite one right now, it's an AI healthcare company. That's all I'm going to say. But they're AI, it's generative AI, and they're trying to break through the space. These guys just sold a company for $360 million to private equity. And in 2 months, they've grown this to 1,500 paid users on their platform. They're looking for $5 million of capital for a convertible note. I take a 5% fee. I'm a exclusive advisor on that. That one will close. Like, these guys just have too much background to leverage on in terms of their experience, but then also the market that they're going after. It's just a massive market opportunity. They have some competitors who recently just raised massive rounds. So they're going into it. There's competition, but I think the exit value and the exit potential of this company is immense. And so I think investors are really going to look at this as like a great deal. And then I have some other ones that are good companies. There's one other $4 to $5 million raise that looks good. That is a convertible note as well, and that is 5%. I have a couple $10 million raises that look good, but I would say in terms of the company wise, the best company, that number one, which I think I'll definitely take home, $250,000. And then they want to raise a Series A after, which they're going to me for that. And I think I'll net just from that one client probably $1 million over the next two years, which is, obviously, it's ridiculous as that adds up and you continue to get those types of clients.
Yeah. I think the big thing for you is like you need to cut your teeth. You need to really, really hone in on what your origination process is. And then as soon as you have that, the focus should just be on getting the deals that you're going to get done.
Yes.
Fastest as well.
Yeah.
That's where you start making the most money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in terms of like what you think, I know you touched on this, but what do you think the program helped you with the most?
I think seeing the opportunity was the biggest thing for me, because I know what I need to do a lot of times. And I feel like you've kind of reiterated what I need to do and told me things that I've heard before and I've seen or thought before, but that has helped a lot. And I think having a mentor is like, what I would say to you is you're a mentor, the type of service that you're providing, right? It's not like you're in the business and you're working on it every day. That's not what it is. But that is so valuable that honestly, I think that the money that I've paid is honestly kind of cheap if you look at it from a 5-year timeline. I think learning the lessons and not only that, the opportunity for the space I'm entering, it's I'm going to make a lot more money than that already have. But yeah.
Okay. So looking back, do you think there's any advice that that you'd give someone who's considering joining?
Yeah, I would say look to your experience. If you've had any success, especially in sales, I think this is for you. If you've been in the sales industry and you've done high ticket sales, you should be able to do fine. Because that's a lot of what this is understanding the sales process. And then, there's other stuff too that I could go into, understanding the investment banking industry, having relationships and stuff like that. It's a no-brainer. If you have investment banking relationships, I think this is an absolute no-brainer, because especially if you're in my position where I was helping investment banks directly for a long time, that it's a much better opportunity. And obviously these companies are much more valuable. Investment banks are much more valuable than, lead generation firms. So yeah, it's a different type of model, but that'd be the advice I'd give. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but look to your experience. And if your experience speaks for itself, you'll be able to do good, because that's a lot of what investment banks are. I've worked with a lot of investment banks. Like, what's the differentiating factor? I mean, really, it's their experience. The transactions, all that stuff, like, is very important if you look at the success of a bank. So yeah.
Amazing. I know you're a busy man. Don't want to take up too much more of your time. Is there anything else that you would want to leave people with?
Honestly, no. I feel like I said it all. Just like if you're looking into Dealmaker, be brutally honest with yourself. If you can really put in the work that's required, because on top of this, I mean, it's a lot of fucking work as well, and that's not a bad thing. That's just what comes with the game. It should be a lot of work. So, yeah, you got to be like, this is 24/7 commitment to this, and I didn't really see success until I committed to it. So that's the biggest thing: commit to it.
Okay. And what if someone has some business experience, but they don't have a sales background or they don't have a marketing background?
Oh, they can
say to those people.
Yeah, no, you can figure it out if you still understand business. But like, if you understand business, you should have sales experience. Like business is sales. It's like that's what the core of it is. So, if you're some person saying that you have, I don't want to sound like a fucking I don't want to sound like that. So I'm not going to say that, but you shouldn't be in business if you're saying you don't have sales, because you need to figure out sales. So like, look internally before you do something like this, even though that's probably not what you're looking to answer wise.
No, be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, if you say you're a business person and you don't know sales at all, that's pretty rare, in my opinion. So I think you could figure it out, because sales is the easier part, in my opinion.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Jake, really appreciate you jumping on and sharing some of your experience and thoughts.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Good talking to you.
Cool. Chat soon.
All right, brother. See ya.
Okay. Bye-bye.